On Wednesday, February 26, 1992, 41-year-old Dr. Ruth Haut was going to work at the Sandra Roberts Chiropractic Clinic at 22 North John Young Parkway in Kissimmee, Florida. Whilst Ruth Haut was working at the Sandra Roberts Chiropractic Clinic that day, she was abducted. Her partner Gene Wagner called her office and it went to a robotic message. Gene noticed Ruth's car was not there when she got home from work. At that point she knew something wasn't right. Gene went to her office in the evening to see what was going on and found the office door ajar and the telephone line cut. Gene Wagner mentioned someone scheduled a late appointment that night with Ruth. Ruth Haut was reported missing at 10:30 p.m. that day on Wednesday, February 26, 1992. Investigators believe Ruth Haut was abducted just hours before at about 7:30 p.m. from her Bermuda Avenue office. Ruth Haut's business partner, chiropractor Sandra Roberts, said the office had been robbed. Roberts did not identify the items which were stolen, but they were not valuable. Authorities believe Ruth Haut was driven to Vero Beach, Florida 3 hours away from her office after 7:30 p.m. because an ATM camera at a SunTrust bank at 1716 Highway A1A picked up a person wearing a green short-sleeved shirt with 2 buttoned pockets on each side and a hooded sweatshirt covering their face using her bank card. Ruth Haut's body was discovered a day after on Thursday, February 27, 1992, after a young child spotted her body whilst looking out the window on a passing bus at around 8:30 a.m. in an orange grove 10 miles east of the city of St. Cloud in Florida. Ruth Haut's body was found sprawled in the orange grove with dozens of stab wounds and her neck had been slashed. Ruth was found fully clothed and barefoot and there was no sign of sexual assault. A box for a Children of the Sun cassette tape, minus the tape, was found near Haut's body. Investigators also wanted to know more information about a red truck seen around the time she was considered missing around Orange Grove on Hickory Tree Road and Highway 192. The truck was said to have had a crescent-shaped logo on the driver's door and was either a Chevrolet S10 or Ford Ranger with a black side-to-side toolbox in the bed. The Osceola County Sheriff's Office also wanted to know more about a sighting of a white 1979 Monte Carlo sedan parked in front of Haut's office the night of her death. A passerby noticed the car about the time of Haut's disappearance. About the same time, another witness reported seeing a white sedan driving erratically northward on Bermuda Avenue near Haut's office. The car then sped east on Vine Street, and there may have been 2 people in it.
This picture of possibly Dr. Ruth Haut's killer was snapped at a Vero Beach automatic teller machine on the very night she disappeared. The person in the picture was using her bank card. Investigators, however, don't know if Dr. Haut was with that person or not.
It's obvious that you can tell this person went through a great deal to reveal their identity, or to conceal their identity, by wearing a hooded type sweatshirt covered up by a green or teal in color, 2-pocketed button-up shirt.
A shirt later found covered in blood next to the doctor's body many miles from Vero Beach in this Osceola County orange grove. Ruth Haut had been stabbed 12 times, her throat cut. Detectives are also looking for a red pickup truck seen around the Hickory Tree Road Grove about the time of Dr. Haut's murder. If you saw that truck, Sheriff John Lane wants to hear from you.
We'd like to identify the truck, the passengers, and the driver to help further our investigation.
Kathy O'Neill, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
By 1995, Osceola County investigators named Curtis J. Huff Jr. as the primary suspect in Ruth Haut's case. He was already serving time at the state prison in Hardy County for a 1993 attempted murder that occurred during a botched robbery at a Kissimmee motel. The judge who convicted Huff in that case told him, My picture of you is someone who is afflicted with deep psychological disturbance, and there's no doubt in my mind that you intended the death of your victim. Detectives told the News Gazette in 1995 that Huff had been a suspect all along and that they had some things on Ruth's case that are leading us places. The affidavit used to execute a search warrant at Huff's father's house in St. Cloud, where he lived, and to obtain Huff's DNA, detailed why he was the primary suspect. The affidavit revealed some of the most damning evidence linking Huff to Haut's murder, including Huff's red pickup truck was seized in the 1993 attempted murder case, and matched the description of a vehicle seen near the area where Haut's body was discovered the night she disappeared. Tire tracks at the scene matched the tires on Huff's truck. A "Children of the Sun" cassette tape without a box was found in Huff's truck. A box for a "Children of the Sun" cassette tape, minus the tape, was found near Haut's body. Huff, 5 feet 4 inches tall, fit the height of the suspect in the ATM footage. Huff grew up in Vero Beach and had lived a short distance from the bank where Haut's ATM card was used. Huff's girlfriend told police he often traveled to Vero Beach, although he lived in St. Cloud. Footprints made by Reebok tennis shoes at the scene matched a pair of Reeboks seized by investigators at Huff's father's home. But despite all the evidence that seemed to link Huff to Haut's murder, he was never charged or prosecuted. Why didn't they do anything when they found out when Huff was connected to Ruth's murder in 1995? Wagner told the News Gazette, "I'm upset. I need answers." Curtis J. Huff Jr. from Vero Beach, Florida, has a long criminal record stretching to Michigan and throughout Florida. He was a Vero Beach High School graduate and a former airman in the Air Force. He at one point lived across the street from another murder victim who was found murdered on November 2, 1992, named Mary Ellen Wise. He is also considered a strong person of interest in Mary's case.
This old Honda CRX could unlock the mystery to a 1992 abduction and murder in Indian River County.
There are so many people that loved Mary Ellen, and there's so many people that are still suffering terribly. Just the not knowing.
Mary Ellen Wise was just 39 years old.
She was my baby sister. She's 5 years younger than me. Yeah, that's at my mom's house.
She looks very happy.
She was always happy. She was a quiet, shy person with anyone that she didn't know. Cute as a button. You see her picture over there. And she loved Florida. She absolutely loved it down here.
But here, in this quaint seaside Florida town, is where Mary Ellen was taken forever from her family. Did she struggle?
We believe that she did, yes. She had massive trauma to the body, and she was brutally beaten to death.
The houses are close by, and all the neighbors were interviewed back then, and no one had heard any yelling or any kind of commotion.
Indian River County Sheriff's Detective Greg Farless took us back to the Vero Beach home where it's believed Mary Ellen unknowingly opened her door to a murderer.
She was home alone. There was no signs of forced entry. So we believe that she did know her killer.
Your sister was a cautious person.
Yes, she was.
She's just not going to open the door to anybody.
Exactly.
So you think she knew her killer?
I feel sure of it, yes.
We believe that she was forced to drive to a bank in Melbourne to withdraw money, then back to her bank in Vero Beach to withdraw more money.
An alert bank teller who knew Mary Ellen noticed something strange.
He even made comment to me about how she usually pulled right in at the wall, you know.
Right next to the window.
Right next to the window, and this time she was clear in the third lane. And he even teasingly said something like, "Oh, don't you like me anymore?" Something like that. And she just laughed. But, you know, there was obviously somebody right there in the car.
One day later, Mary Ellen's car was found here at the Fort Pierce boat ramp at Seaview and Indian River Drive. This area looks very much like it did 23 years ago.
Not much has changed. It's about the same. There's a few trees missing, but it's about the same.
So Mary Ellen's car was found in this exact location. This is it.
Yes, ma'am. This is exactly where the killer parked the car. We're hoping that somebody would remember this. We believe that when the killer parked the car here, someone unknowingly gave the killer a ride. They might have been offered money.
For more than 2 decades, Mary Ellen's car has been in Pennsylvania. After all these years, it could hold the key to solving her murder.
We located the car. The owner in Pennsylvania said that we could have the car. He knew we wanted to assist in our investigation. There was no engine in it, but he said the same interior is intact. And we had our crime scene with new techniques they use today they didn't use back then, process the car again, and we're sending that evidence off to be tested also.
You believe that whoever the killer is, that person had to fit into this part of the car.
Yes, I do.
Because at the bank, the teller said she didn't see anybody in the car.
Nobody
with Mary
in the
Ellen.
car. Nobody in the car.
It's a tight fit back there. Matter of fact, it's not even really seats back there. So we believe that the killer was medium to small build.
A killer who knew the area well. Mary Ellen's body was found 6 days later in rural western St. Lucie County at Peanut Lake, a popular hunting and fishing spot. She still had on her house slippers.
I don't think this person has a conscience. It's not like I think they're suffering. I don't believe that at all. I think they thought they got away with it. And they're just as happy as a clam going on with their life. And that's not right.
Even more, detectives now believe, based on evidence, Mary Ellen's murderer may have killed before. Do you believe the person who committed this crime could be responsible for other crimes in Florida?
I do believe that. I don't think this is the first time that this person killed somebody. And this person still resides in Florida.
How many other murders do you think this person is responsible for?
It's hard to say. I believe that approximately three other murders.
Women?
2 women and one man.
So you believe the person of interest in Mary Ellen's case is connected to at least 3 other murders in Florida?
Possibly, yes.
Both Ruth Haut and Mary Ellen Wise were murdered 30 years ago in 1992 in eerily similar circumstances, as both were kidnapped, taken to an ATM machine, and their bodies were both eventually found in fields in Florida.
Tonight, Central Florida detectives are reopening a 20-year-old cold case with possible ties to the Treasure Coast. Back on February 26, 1992, Kissimmee chiropractor Ruth Haut was kidnapped from her office and murdered. Detectives know that night her ATM card was used at a bank along A1A in Vero Beach. It is believed her abductor drove her to that bank, then took her back to Central Florida, where he then killed her. Osceola County investigators believe the killer still lives in Indian River or Osceola County.
Suspect and the victim. We do, through an investigative profile, know that the suspect targets his victims by using charm as a form of manipulation.
Now, this is an enhanced photograph of the suspect at the ATM. Of course, you can't see a clear shot of his face there, but he is described as a white male, 5'4" to 5'6", somewhere in that range, now in his mid-40s. If you have any information, you're asked to call 1-800-423-TIPS.
30 years have passed since Ruth Haut's death, and her great-nephew Stephen Madonna, who was only 4 at the time of her murder, pushed to get her case reopened in 2018. He and Ruth's partner Gene Wagner are still fighting for justice to get her killer or killers behind bars.
Stephen Madonna was just 4 years old when his great-aunt Ruth Haut was killed.
Nobody should get away with murder.
On February 26, 1992, Haut, a chiropractor in Kissimmee, was kidnapped from the office she worked at, Sandra Roberts Chiropractor's Clinic. This is a picture of the suspect using Haut's card at an ATM in Vero Beach prior to dumping her body.
Haut's body was found here in the outskirts of St. Cloud, basically Harmony. Take a look. It's an open field that has been cleared out. But back in 1992, this place was filled with orange groves instead.
Madonna and Gene Wagner, Haut's partner at the time of her murder, have joined forces in their search for justice. Combined, they have dozens of newspaper articles, pictures, and flyers.
I bug the sheriff's office every month. I'll send a text or a call. I'll say, hey, any updates? Hey, any updates?
Osceola County Sheriff Marcos Lopez says older homicides are challenging because they don't have a cold case detective.
If we can get grant money for cold case files, that would be a blessing, because then we could have more money and more detectives, more eyes on any cold case in order so we can bring closure to the families.
Madonna's grandma, Haut's sister, passed away earlier this month. He's made her one promise: he's not giving up.
29 years of heartache. My grandma never got over it, and Jean never got over it.
They're calling on the community to come forward with information.
But there's someone out there, and I know you're there. If you don't say anything, then you're going to live with that guilt, and it'll rot with you.